What's up guys, it's DJ New World. Welcome back to another one of my videos. This video is a very important one. It's a important topic to me. I want to do a lot of positive videos over the course of this week, but I thought it was more important for me to make this video first. Um, as you guys can see, there's a picture of the bald eagle in the background, the symbol of this country. This symbolizes freedom. One I wanted to be honest. I've loved this country since I was born into it. My family, I've been thinking about this topic all my life, and finally get to say it and to explain it. It's gonna be a little tough. So give me a moment. I've loved this country since I was born into it. I've known since a young age, being told to being taught all the different things I've been taught, uh, being taught by my mother, the person that has raised me, and my grandparents to respect your elders, respect women, and respect cops, are the most important things. Oh, and the last one, most important, don't join in a gang. Those are the most important things that I've been taught at a young age. Those are all important individually, but all together they have all encompassed who I am as a person. Um, Individually, I understand why I must respect women. Is the reason why I have such a certain outlook towards women, why I'm try to be so understanding towards them. I understand why I have to be respected of my elders and try to see their point of view because they have lived a lot longer than I have. But in some circumstances, elders and can be wrong. But that's a topic for a different video. I've been There's no secret. I've been black my whole entire life. I may be mixed with other things, but that doesn't distinguish the fact that I am black and I will always be black. Skin tone is all that people see. They won't see the other races that I'm mixed with, but that's what they see. The first time I experienced um, racism was at a young age. I want to say 7. I was in, no, I was a little bit younger than that, around 6 years old in Chicago. Uh, a young black kid. His father was white, right? So he thought he was better off than me. And being up until that point, I was taught by my mother about the civil rights movement and how, you know, the whole mixing of races and how certain people believe that they thought that they were better off because they got, you know, I'm white, so I got a better opportunity than you do. I experienced that again later on in life, but let's focus on this situation. So I experienced this, and he said this is the reason why he tries his best to bully me all the time because he saw that I was happy all the time. And he wanted to take that happiness away from me because he didn't have his father in his life, right? And it's funny because this mixed kid, was in the same situation as I am in, that I was in it. My father was not in my life. Uh, my parents couldn't get it together. They couldn't work out their relationship. But that's also a story for another time. They weren't together. He was in a similar situation, but he assumed that I was happy all the time. The thing is within that situation, I wasn't happy all the time. I just didn't let that particular situation shake me. I knew my own self-value. I knew that that could not take away from who I am as a person. Being black in America means a lot of things. It means that you got to live with the stereotype of not growing up without a father, and sometimes you have to grow up with a father and have the best father in the world, but still deal with that stereotype. And in the George Floyd case situation, lose your father and he be the reason why another situation similar to the civil rights movement is set in motion. And I speculated this at a very young age when I was little. Not to toot my own horn, I wish that another black person didn't have to die. I wish that no one ever has to die in order for another movement to be set into motion. But sometimes that is what is necessary to happen. When I was younger, I was talking to my teacher, and I told them I was thinking back to that situation that I previously explained, of how I had dealt with a racist situation living in Chicago, which you would assume that wouldn't happen because you would assume there's nothing but black people there. But no, there's multiple races. It's a pretty diverse city. Um, but I explained that the civil rights movement is not over. It's still in motion. And she, being an adult, she said, "No, the civil rights movement's over. It's been over for a while now. It's like you have nothing to worry about. Racism's dead." Later that year, I was racially profiled, treated poorly by a bus driver, forced to walk to school. Not just me, my siblings as well. The civil rights movement wasn't over. It's something that we, even as black people in America, we just closed our eyes to it. We saw that, oh yes, some things were changing. We accepted some of those changes, but we weren't willing to be like, oh, this is not, it's not done yet. We accepted the minimum changes and accepted that as good enough. It might take more years. I don't know the exact number. I was actually gonna say hundreds more years. I wish not, because that means that it would take beyond my generation. Because honestly, I wish my generation would solve this problem. Being black in America means you gotta often solve some of these problems and often, bridge the gap. Be the one to be willing to solve the problem. Be the one to, you know, growing up dealing with racism as a whole made it so that I would be less racist towards people. I saw those stereotypes and instantly went, none of that shit makes any sense. Why? I don't know how everything is in Hispanic households, Asian households, Muslim households, and the list goes on and on for each subsect of race, religion, creed there is. I don't know how it is in every household, but I know how it is in a black household. We live in a world where, especially in America, we live in a world where we're constantly judged, we're constantly prosecuted against, we're constantly, even a person like me, I've personally stayed out of trouble on purpose my whole entire life, so I would be afforded some opportunities like becoming a police officer one day, because I believe that would be the best way to put some things in motion to solve some of these problems, because I believe one man can change the world. But at times it feels like that's not the case. You got to understand that to broaden the picture, to broaden the scope of everything, sometimes you got to get your hands a little dirty. You're going to have to get in the mud. You're going to have to talk with people. You're going to have to speak with some people that you're not going to like. And this harkens back to a video I watched a while ago with this man that I forget his name at the moment, but he did an interview with the head of the KKK, and he he did this interview because he wanted to understand why this man had so much hatred for black people. Part of it was because he was taught that way. The other part of it was that he was old enough that he was so unwilling to change. And that if that's the case, then it's our job, not just as me at what I'm saying are not as just black people, are as in my generation, to change the whole outlook of everybody. Because simply put, this world is on a downward spiral. There's COVID right now, there's riots, there's protesting, there's some peaceful protesting, but there's some been violent protesting, there's been people being set up, there's all kinds of stuff are going on. There's not just black people that's involved in these protests. Luckily, that makes me happy. There's more people unifying over a common enemy. We need to come together more. We need to figure this out. It's our generation's turn to bridge the gap, because if we don't do it, then no one will. And another important story I would like to share that I think would be important is another situation that's similar to the first story. This black kid I knew, he was mixed with white, of course. So I was older. I was in middle school at the time. I was living in Nebraska. He was saying along the lines that I couldn't, because I wanted to be an astronomer. I liked space. There's a whole slew of lists of different science-based things I wanted to do. Astronomy was one of them. He said that I couldn't do it because I'm black, and black people have never been scientists. And I told him that there's a whole list of black scientists. Like, what are you talking about? And I started listing some, and I told him that I get it. I understand why. It's sad. It really is sad. I understand why you're saying what you're saying. And he's like, what do you get? Your family's white. Part of your family's white. And he's like, your mom's white. Your part of your family's constantly telling you because your dad's black, and he probably left, right? And he's and they're constantly telling you how being black is a bad thing, right? They're just trying to break your spirit. And that's a really important, powerful thing that I had to tell him. At a young age, I recognized that he was going through something. It's terrible when you are going through when you're dealing with something like that, when your family is part white or mixed with something else, and you have to deal with the fact that you're black in America and you have to deal with external threats. Because I've dealt with all kinds of abuse from every single race, because I've dated outside my race a few dozen times. And So I've dealt with all kinds of abuse from external people talking shit in different languages and people thinking I don't understand, but not knowing this ain't my first rodeo. But um, with that being said, the key takeaway from that is you shouldn't shun your family member for being a race. They didn't choose to be born a race. They already got to deal with, oh, you're black, so you're destined for crime, you're destined for not being successful, you're destined for not being a good father, you're destined for this if you're a male. And if you're a woman, it's way worse. It's way worse because if you're a guy, you got all this shit up against you. But if you're a woman, it's way worse because for women in America, it's terrible. But if you're a black woman, it's 10 times worse because black women in America, you got like the whole world on your back and then some. And I could literally make a whole video talking about strong black women in America, but that is another topic for another day. It's just crazy to think about that all these life experiences has cultivated me into the person that I am today, to tell you that all this pain that I have experienced has not lessened me as a person. It's made me greater. It has made me more understanding. It has made me more compassionate. It has made me want to reach out to those people that has tried to hurt me, because I know in my heart if I don't reach out to them, then no one will. That person's going to be lost, because if I don't become part of the solution, then no one will. And that's the big takeaway. You got to try to become a part of the solution, not just as a black person, as an American. Because if we're truly the pinnacle of what is supposed to be in the world, we're supposed to be that mixing pot, that they teach you in school at a young age. We're the mixing pot of the world. We're supposed to be acceptance and religious acceptance. Then actually be that. Actually be religious acceptance in the world. Actually be religious acceptance. We're actual be racial acceptance. We need to bridge the gap. Stop bullshitting. Stop trying to market to the young masses and say these things, and then when they grow up and be like, oh, we're gonna have adults racially abuse children. That's not the way to go. We got to do better as a country. We need to change this. This is my thoughts on the situation. It's being black in America. I have other stuff that I'm going to be releasing videos on. I have other topics. I'll talk about it later.